How would you like to be introduced?
Yeah, Justin Kanoya. I mean, how? What do you mean?
Everybody's
like my name,
what do you mean?
Master of the universe.
Winners never quit, and quitters never win.
Quitters win all the time. Let us show you how on Quit Happens.
Hey guys, Lynn Marie here. Just wanted to let you know where you can find out more about strategic quitting. You can visit my website at quittingbydesign.com, or across all of social media, you can check me out at Quitting by Design, with the notable exception of Twitter, which is at LMORSKI, but I rarely tweet, so who cares? Anyway, I'm super glad you've joined me for this episode today because our guest, DJ Justin Kanoya, is the perfect example of something that I think a lot of us aspire to, which is quit the corporate job, find your passion, follow it, and be successful at it. And he's got some great concrete tips on how to do that, how to make the connections, how to be successful when you make that transition. And overall, Justin's just a delightful person. And as a bonus, at the end, you get to hear a sample of his work. So please stay tuned for that. So without further ado.
Hey everyone, Lynn Marie here. Thanks for joining us again on the next episode of Quit Happens. Today we have with us DJ Justin Kanoya.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here. Indeed, I'm here.
I'm very excited to have Justin on, and I think a lot of you will be super interested to hear his story because he has kind of the quintessential quit the corporate job to pursue your passion story. And his is a success story, which is why I'm really glad that he's willing to share it and to share a lot of the logistics that have enabled him to make that shift and to stay there. And kind of the second reason that I'm really glad that it's you specifically sharing this story, Justin, is because I often say it's different if you're in the position where you have a family you're responsible for. These quits are harder. You know, if I had to quit something, I'm only responsible for myself. Justin has a family. And so to hear somebody who does have other responsibilities be able to make this type of quit is even more impactful, I think. So thank you very much for being here today.
I was responsible in making a very irresponsible decision, basically, right?
So real quickly, when did you start DJing?
I started DJing when I was 15 years old. Actually, it even goes further back. I remember being at home in front of the stereo. So this is like probably in the 80s. I wasn't 15 in the 80s, but so it was much younger. I was probably like 10, somewhere in there. And I remember sitting in front of the stereo with a tape recorder and introducing a song that was coming on the radio, and I would stick it in front of the speaker. And I would even make my own concert promos. We had One Cool in the Gang record, and back then they actually did concert promos on the radio, and they would have different clips of the band. And so I was literally taking the record and putting the needle in different parts of the record and be cool things coming to St. Louis, and I would start playing Celebration, and then One Night Only, and I would switch it to another song. It was probably Ladies Night. I mean, who knows what it was. So I think it was sort of always in me to introduce and play music. And eventually, I was when I was in high school, it was my high school homecoming dance my freshman year, and I was probably 14, 15 at the time, and I just remember just having a great time with the music and checking out the DJs and everything. That at the end of the night, the DJ company, when they were packing up, one of the guys had handed me his card. He's like, "Hey, we're hiring DJs. Give us a call." So it was crazy. I mean, it was 15, and I got hired on with them. This is a multi-op mobile DJ company in St. Louis where I grew up. Which they're actually still in business, which is crazy, some 25, 30 years later. But I started DJing for them and just doing high school dances and summer pool parties, other, teen parties, that kind of stuff. And I sort of stayed with that in a way. I mean, I worked for them for a couple of years. And then when I was in college, I was a journalism major. So I worked on the radio station, even worked in our... it's kind of the on-campus nightclub area. So I was always involved with DJing in some aspect. It wasn't until 2002, so probably 10 years from the last time I actually had DJed a party, that I met someone in San Diego that ran a DJ company. And I was like, hey, I'm looking to get back into DJing. Is there something I could help you out with? And so I started working with him. That was back in 2002. And was with him for a couple of years before eventually branching off on my own. And then in 2015, quit my job and started DJing full time.
Gotcha. So let's back up a little bit to what those jobs were that you quit before going full time as a DJ. So start us off in like, say, late college.
So late college, I was interning. Again, I'm a journalism major, and I had the great fortune to intern for a publishing company that published a magazine that I had subscribed to probably since the age of 12. I grew up a baseball card collector, a sports memorabilia collector. I was the kid that would go to the stadium as soon as the gates opened, like get autographs and get my card signed.
Justin's from St. Louis.
Yes.
So, as am I, so I totally get that.
Which is partly why you get because St. Louis is such a great sports town, especially a great baseball town. So it's easy to get, ensconced by sports cards and sports memorabilia. But yeah, and so I was in college, and I had written Beckett Publications, which is the magazine, wrote them a letter just asking if they had internships, and they wrote me back and said, yeah, come on, we're in Texas. Do you have a place to stay? And I was like, not really, but I'll figure something out. And spent one summer there, and then went back the summer again before my senior year. And about a month or two before I graduated, they actually had offered me a position. So I was like, just so excited. Like, here's a magazine. And actually, the autograph column that I used to like, that was the first thing that I would read every month. Like, I was writing that column, like, at some point. It was like, this is just crazy. Like, not only am I getting to, like, interview sports stars like Ozzie Smith, like people that I idolized growing up, and Chipper Jones and so many great sports legends, I was actually getting to write articles about them and publish them in the magazine that I used to subscribe to. So it was really cool. I was there for about 3 years, and a friend of mine that worked in Dallas with me at Beckett had come to San Diego to work at Upper Deck, which is one of the leading sports card manufacturers. I always tell people I subscribed to one magazine as a kid, and I collected one brand of cards. So it was Beckett Magazine and Upper Deck baseball cards. And I was able to get a position out here in San Diego. That's what brought me to San Diego in 1999 to go work at Upper Deck. And, here I was at the age of 24, 25. I was authoring the autograph column, and writing feature articles in a magazine that I was subscribed to. And now I was like promoting the cards that I used to pay my allowance for, and ripping packs open and organizing them. And here I am, like, I was surrounded by them for my job. And none of this really came with any difficulty. I mean, I firmly believe that, like, those are things that I truly wanted, and I worked hard for them. The simple ask and, like, can I intern for you? Can I come and work for you? For the most part, came pretty easy. Like, oh yeah, we do have a position open. Like, let's get you out here for an interview. And everything went really smoothly. I was at Upper Deck for about 3 years, and it was such a great time. I think it was such a great job for me at that age too. But because everything had progressed so easily and so quickly for me as far as my career advancement, I kind of felt like that's just the way things were. And I guess there was an instance where I felt that I deserved more responsibility, more money, whatever it was, and I'd asked for it. There was that moment where it was the first time where I was actually essentially told no. Like, we don't have more money for you. We don't have a new position for you right now. So just kind of like chill for a little bit. In the meantime, there was a position that opened at the Port of San Diego. I thought, well, heck, I'll just go interview for it just to kind of see what it was all about.
And the Port of San Diego is, for those who aren't from San Diego.
The Port of San Diego essentially manages, they're like the landlord of all the waterfront property along San Diego Bay.
But this is a government job.
Yes. But it was a marketing and PR job, and that's something that I grew up doing, writing press releases and, working on ad campaigns. And I just felt like, I was going to be able to apply those skills it was a different company, a different type of job, but it's still essentially the same job. When I went back to Upper Deck, my manager, and they were saying, there wasn't anything for me, and I had this other opportunity that seemed like more responsibility. It definitely was more pay. I just thought, I'm just going to go do that. And I went and did that. And it was the first time that I really realized about, working in a field that you're passionate about, something that you really care about, because I for the first time, didn't have that at work. And I was actually seeing that in other people. it was interesting because in my older jobs, I saw people that probably didn't really enjoy what they were doing, but I loved it.
Yeah.
You know? And now it was like the complete opposite. Like I was just not enjoying it, but I could see other people really passionately talking about local government and lobbying and, you know, real estate management and those kind of things that just were so foreign to me that I used to be really envious. It's like, why can't I have that amount of passion when we're talking about that at this meeting? And it was about a year into it that I was like, you know what, this was a nice experiment. I'm going to let me go back to my old life. And there were positions that were opening back up at Upper Deck that I interviewed for, but I think I interviewed for 2 different ones and I didn't get them. And I was like, man, this really sucks. Like, all of a sudden I'm miserable at work and I can't go back to the things I used to do. So the question is like, okay, well, why did you still stay there? Because I ended up staying at the port for 13 years. What had happened was, I eventually met my eventual wife. So Sheila and I were working together, and we started dating. You know, within that first year, we eventually got married, and that really started this sort of life of comfort and ease and complacency. Where, because we worked together, our daughter was born about a year after we were married, and we enrolled her in a preschool that was nearby. Eventually enrolled her in an elementary school that was nearby. You know, for the most part, it was pretty easy. It wasn't like we worked at 2 different places, and so like one of us had to figure out like who's going to pick Marissa up and like what are we doing for dinner. It was just like we were together all day long and just picking her up and coming home. So it was a pretty easy thing. And financially, everything was fine. Like I was getting paid well, and I just felt like, you know, we'll just kind of stay with this, and it just became sort of this life of ease.
Like your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Even though not totally comfortable.
Right. But in the meantime, actually, you know, I started DJing again because I had met this guy. It was within the first year of working at the port that I had met this guy that owned a company, and I started DJing for him. And when I eventually broke off on my own, here I was working at the port 8-9 hours a day and trying to grow this DJ business, which I saw kind of this bell curve where things were going really well. And I mean, I was working enough for it to be a great side job. But there was a time from about 2011 to 2014 where I saw a huge decline in my DJ business. And as someone that has been a career marketing and PR strategist, I knew that's really where the downfall was. You know, I knew that I just wasn't marketing myself because I had been like 10 years into the side business. I had created a website and really hadn't touched it for those 10 years. And, 10 years, previous to that, like you could have a website and that was fine. But in the meantime, Facebook and Instagram and social media and all these other areas of marketing yourself and marketing your business came into play. And I just didn't have time for all that. And I certainly didn't have the energy for all that because here I was like doing marketing at the port. Like the last thing I want to do was like come home and like do more marketing. And it really hit me when I was like the project lead to redo the port's website and just thinking like, I need to be working on my own website. Like, why am I working on this website? And it was kind of an interesting time because I was turning 40. My daughter was enrolled in a Mandarin immersion program and was kind of like over all that. And, they were super long days for her. Like I said, she would leave the house when we did and we wouldn't pick her up till like 6 o'clock. So, she was just like, why can't I just go to school in our own neighborhood? And I was like, because it doesn't work with our schedule. So like having to look into ourselves and think like, what I really want to be doing right now, that's going to be, I guess, mentally better for me and ultimately better for everybody else. I mean, if we're just talking about, my immediate family. And that's when, just decided, I think let's just start DJing. I can work from home. Our daughter can go to school in the neighborhood. I can drop her off. And let's just see how this goes or where it goes.
Cool. Okay. So we're at the point where you're deciding you're going to make the transition. How long between making that decision and actually putting in your 2 weeks at the port was there?
It's been a while. It's been 3 years now. And I don't remember exactly when we made that decision. I remember talking about it several times, like over a decade. I think, though, because I quit in May of 2015, is probably something that Sheila, my wife, and I were talking about earlier in that year, probably January, February, and probably very seriously, discussing it in April and May of that year, because I think it was May 31st was like the last, like my last day. As you're deciding to do something like this, I think you start to watch other people and you take cues from other people that are following passions and what they're doing. And I, in some ways, almost had it like scripted how I wanted to do it. I had got up to speak at a staff meeting, and part of what we would do each week is someone would like share a quote. And I was like, oh, I want to share the quote this week. Although, I mean, obviously my manager knew I was doing this, but for the longest time, this quote from Oprah Winfrey had stuck with me, that she started by saying, essentially, we have one mission in life, and that's to figure out what our calling is and to get about the business of finding that calling. And for me, that's what I told people this entire time. I've been trying to figure out what it is that I really want to be doing, what I really should be doing with my life. And I figured it out, and I'm quitting in these next 2 weeks, and I'm just going to start DJing full time. And I actually had the quote like up on the wall. It was cool to finally like to be on the other side of like delivering the information, right, and to sort of be to have my own moment of exhale to finally like release that and tell people. And who knows, maybe there was people that were then being inspired by me in that room on that day.
Exactly. And there will be, let's say, more when we release this.
Yes.
As per the goal.
Yeah.
Okay. When you were making the transition, did you do any type of financial preparation?
Again, like there's some details that I don't fully remember. I don't know that I.
You have quit amnesia.
Yeah. I don't know if I consciously like set aside money. I did plan ahead, knowing that there was going to be like vacation pay that I was cashing out. And so I think there was probably 2 or 3 months of some seed money where I knew I was going to be receiving, and I was going to sort of treat that as though I was still like getting that paycheck every couple of weeks. The one thing I think that I had the advantage is that it wasn't that I decided, oh, I'm going to start DJing, on June 1st, 2015, like the day after I quit.
Right.
Like, I had been doing it for well over a decade. I had been building the business. I had contacts made, and I had already had business booked, that year. I probably had weddings, that weekend. So, it wasn't as though on that, the very next day, like I had to start figuring out how I was going to start making money.
Right.
So
you ramped up the DJing.
Yeah. So in that sense, it was probably like I didn't feel an urgent need to like figure out how I'm going to make money.
Were there any? By the way, I'm hoping this is not being picked up, because there's a sweet truck that's been backing up for like 10 minutes and it's not subtle. Were there any quitting related fears?
I think the fears are always, is this really going to work out? You talked about it earlier about the responsibility of others. There are other people involved here. It wasn't just me, namely my wife, my daughter. So you always kind of wonder about providing for them. Having the paycheck that was always going to be there was that nice safety net. Now that wasn't there. And I think for me, like that was like the main fear, because I certainly didn't fear that it wasn't going to be successful. And I know that is a lot of people's fears, is like, how am I going to really make this work? But I think if you lay the groundwork ahead of time, so I know a lot of what you recommend. I mean, one of those things is like, preparing yourself financially. I think it's a super important step, but if you also don't sort of prepare yourself just from a business standpoint, like what foundations are you laying in terms of connections you're making with people, maybe educating yourself on how to run a business, just educating yourself better on the type of business and type of industry that you're in. That to me is how you're going to fail, just because you great, you have like this seed money, but what are you going to do with it if you don't know who to talk to, and you don't know, really how to run the business that you're trying to get into. Yeah,
absolutely. So once you made that switch, these are some of the logistics that you and I discussed a little before we started recording. Many people see that you've pulled this off. You're successfully working for yourself as a DJ, living your passion. How do you maintain it?
The best thing you can do, and this goes for anything, whether it's relationships or it's not even, you don't have to run your own business, but I think one of the things that we know about really well is like, is like to just show up for people, just show up for your coworkers. And when you do, you just need to do a good job and like be invested in what you're doing. And the business opportunities are gonna come to you because you are showing people that you work hard. You're working hard for them, for whatever results that you're trying to accomplish for them. So for me, I mean, ultimately I'm an event professional, and people are hiring me as a service provider to create a really great event for them. And, I'm just one element in that. But when I'm there, like, I'm doing everything I can to ensure that happens. I mean, I think a great example really is just from this most recent wedding that I did. The maid of honor had emailed me on Tuesday, and the wedding was Sunday, just saying, hey, my co-maid of honor and I want to do like this karaoke sing-along thing with our maid of honor speech. Do you have a way of like getting instrumental tracks or like dropping out the vocals from a thing and from a track, like, because we want to sing along to them? And I said, well, I can't engineer that, but I can like look for the instrumentals for you, and I can meet with you ahead of time, like during the cocktail hour, we can run through it. And she's like, oh, that's great. Like that's exactly what we need. And even during the wedding, when the dad was giving his toast, he mentioned a song by Three Dog Night, Joy to the World, as something that he always thinks about when he thinks about his daughter. And he actually started singing a little snippet of it. And right when he like gave his toast and toasted, his daughter and his new son-in-law, like I hit that song. Like, I didn't know he was going to talk about the song. And, but then everyone started singing it. And then as they were dispersing to sit down, like people started dancing to it. And he came up to me later. He's like, oh, thank you so much for playing that. He was like, I was going to call you earlier, but I just totally forgot. But he goes, you're totally on it. So, I mean, those are the kind of things like people like going that extra step for people, and I guess not over promising, but over delivering, right?
Right.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah.
I was like about to say under deliver, but that's what's helped me even expand the type of events I do. I was really fortunate enough, November 2015, to DJ an event here in San Diego for Fitbit. And my whole goal when I quit my job and just started DJing full time was like redo your website and just start booking a ton of weddings and like just be a great wedding DJ. And I started like doing a few like, in-store kind of things, and I had done like one yoga class. But when I did this Fitbit event, it was really like the first like live fitness event that I was DJing, and I thought it was kind of fun. And what ended up happening is that same event that Fitbit did in San Diego, they did in San Francisco about a month later. And I think they were just scrambling, like many event professionals do, like they're scrambling at the last minute to try to put this together and try to get vendors together. And for them, knowing that I had just done that event, I was responsive to emails, I did a good job. They're just like, hey, can you come to San Francisco and do this event for me? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, I can do that. So I went up and did that. And that actually started this relationship I had with Fitbit like for the next year. And really still to this day, because in 2016, I ended up doing a ton of events for them in New York and Seattle, San Francisco. I was doing not only the same event we're doing in San Diego, which is like a launch of a local Fitbit local, which is like monthly workouts and monthly meetups, but I was like doing product launches for them and some of their own all hands corporate meetings. It was just really cool, and I became kind of known as like a fitness and yoga DJ, and have now started to really specialize and create that niche for me. So while I'm still doing weddings and just sort of the generic corporate events, like I get to do a lot of fun yoga and fitness events too.
Which is very cool. How did you make those connections? I'm sure a lot of people who are starting off would love to have that type of client.
Yeah. In February of 2014, I was training to run the La Jolla Half Marathon, and I was just on Facebook and just scrolling through my Facebook feed. The Lululemon store in La Jolla was promoting a run club that they were starting, and they were very specific that this week we'll be running up the Torrey Pines Hill, which is like the notorious hill during the La Jolla Half Marathon. But they're okay, we're going to be training up this hill, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm running this half marathon, and this would be great to go train on. So I went out and I did that, and Sherry Matthews, who's a great friend of mine who's been mentioned in this podcast a few times, I believe.
Yeah, she's a chef.
Yeah.
Has she quit something? We should have her on.
Yeah, actually she has. So Sherry, you're next.
Yeah.
I started just going to the run club for the next several weeks and went all the way through the summer months and meeting other fitness professionals, or at least fitness enthusiasts. I was meeting, even through Lululemon, I was meeting yoga teachers that had quit their corporate jobs and were now full-time yoga teachers. And that really started to get me thinking. Even Sherry had quit her, like she actually worked in local San Diego government before working in corporate wellness. So, I started thinking about I'm not really liking my job, and I'm seeing other people that didn't either, and now they're kind of doing something that is meaningful to them. It was interesting too, because I was able to DJ in the Lululemon store a couple times, and while I was doing that was, getting to know their employees well, and was starting to understand a little about their culture and how they really focus on employee growth and having their employees set goals that, interestingly, 5 to 10 years from now may have nothing to do with them working at Lululemon. And for the most part, it's not like everyone's like, yeah, I'm working here today and I'm hoping to be a manager in 5 years and work at the corporate office, in 10 years. A lot of it has nothing to do with that. And I thought that was a really admirable thing. And so here I was just a customer, and I started to think about their philosophy and how I could apply that to my own life. And as I just weekly was either at Run Club or going to November Project and being around these type of people and getting to know these type of people better, it really was all in line with everything else was happening. Me turning 40, my daughter not wanting to switch school, not wanting the long days, trying to decide, what is it that I really enjoy doing? What is it that I'm really good at? And how am I going to apply that next?
Yes. I love it. You were a successful strategic quitter who was inspired by other successful strategic quitters, which is great. I love it. Anything else that other people who have been in your position and seen your success have asked you that you think would be helpful to pass along?
People see that I travel and that I DJ for Fitbit, and I guess other DJs especially, they're just doing weddings here locally, whatever they're doing, and they see that I'm doing these big, huge events for these big corporate clients. They want to be able to do that. They want to how do you do that? And for the one thing I've been telling people is that the first thing you do is just get involved in that setting, in that group, right? So for me, I wasn't necessarily even looking to DJ fitness events, but I was in the circle and I was letting people know that I'm a DJ, but it wasn't I'm a DJ, call me, let me know if you want me to, never be overbearing. Just let people know what you do. And when they need your service, they'll remember oh yeah, you're the guy that DJs. Why don't you come DJ in our store? So that's the first thing I always tell people, whatever industry, whatever type of store, whatever, if maybe you want to do more weddings, you just got to let people know that's what you do. And those are the kind of events that you DJ. So the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're a DJ or if you're a plumber or you are a strategic quitter or you're aspiring to be a speaker. You've done the same thing. You let people know that you are trying to get more speaking gigs.
Absolutely.
Unless you tell people you want to do something, they're probably not going to know because people have got their own life to lead and they're scrolling through their phone, just like you say all the time, not really paying attention to what's happening. And the second thing is when you have achieved the goal of DJing a certain type of event or that speaking gig that you do, the first thing is put great effort into it, do a really good job. That's super important. Someone has now trusted you to hire you for the service. You do need to deliver. But then after that, it really is all about follow-up and being professional. And because what I have found, especially on the corporate level, people they're busy, especially when they're planning events. They don't have time to look for new services or just try to investigate or maybe even find cheaper quotes. If they've had great experience with you and you're easy to contact, you're going to be responsive to emails, you're likely going to continue to get hired. I firmly believe that's why I did so much work for Fitbit over the last couple of years, even though it might have been cheaper for them to hire someone locally in New York City or in Seattle or in Chicago. It was super easy to pick up the phone or just email me, say, hey, are you available today? Great. Here's your flight. Meet us out there and we'll talk about the event. So get involved in the community that you want to be involved with. Let people know what it is you have to offer to them. And when you get the chance, just do a really kick-ass job, be professional, and those good things will sustain, will keep coming.
Nice. A few plugs for Justin. I just have to throw these in. So Justin is a bizarre music savant in a certain way. And this little story has been told like 30 times, I think, since it happened. I don't even know Justin knows what's coming. But
No, I know what's coming.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Oh, yeah, you probably do. I guess there's only so many music savant moments that one can have. But I was at Justin's house. Justin is, you didn't mention it, but I think I will throw this in as why I'm assuming you've been so successful, is Justin gives back a lot. He hosts co-working days at his house, so people like myself who work from home can go out there. And you don't just go out there and work near Justin. Justin is like, what are you working on? How can I help you? Like, he's helped me set up my Instagram marketing, everything, you know. He helped me set up these lights today. You know, these people don't know. We had some stunning lights for the Facebook Live that preceded this podcast. He also said, hey, you know, I know you want to do some speaking gigs. Would you mind speaking to the co-working group? Would that be something you'd like? I was super happy to do it. So I did a workshop out there about 2 weeks ago, and of course, true to form, it wasn't just like, oh, come do a workshop. Justin is making homemade acai bowls for us when we get there. And I must have laughed, and I don't know, fill in how you remember.
Well, I mean,
this.
You actually laugh quite often, which is
true.
Great. I mean, such a great asset. There, you just want to, and actually that did not sound like it.
No, I'm trying to hold back.
So Lynn Marie was giggling, as she always does, and I realized that her little laugh that she does sounds like the beginning of Spice Girls Wannabe. And there was a puzzled look on your face, and as well as others, because many people probably don't even know that part of the song, but it's the very first part of the song.
It's like a nanosecond, essentially.
Like Scary Spice, if you watch the video, like Scary Spice is like walking up, so you hear the pitter patter of her feet.
What you hear is Justin slapping as if to walk.
Yeah, but that's the song, and I'm sure we're gonna put it in, right? So you hear the walk up of the feet, and then Scary laughs, and then they start with, so tell me what you want, what you really want, and it was great because I was like, you know, do you realize your laugh sounds like the beginning of Wannabe? And everyone was puzzled, thankful for modern technology. I had my Amazon Alexa Echo Show right there, so I just asked Alexa to play Wannabe, and there it was. So
I passed that story along at my house when my friends Tim and Zach were over, and I did the same thing but using my little Google Home, and the laughter comes out of the Google Home, and then I burst out laughing, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's the exact same."
The funny thing is, if you mention that to people, if they were like, "Yeah, you didn't know that? Like, no one's mentioned that before," because probably no one has ever really realized that laugh. But I bet you could ask 9 out of every 10 DJs you ask, they'd be like, "Oh my God, it totally sounds like that." So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, that was just beyond what because as a non-DJ, I don't realize that you guys know these songs so in depth, but that was super impressive. But the other thing is I have had the pleasure of hearing Justin DJ on multiple occasions. And the first time I didn't know it was you. I was at an event and we had not yet met, but I was just like, this music is amazing. The Team Hoyt dinner.
Oh, okay.
And we met at the end of that night.
Right.
But the entire night I was like, man, these are some jams. Like it was, it was like great song after great song. And then I was introduced to Justin that night, but I was at another waffle off a few weeks ago, and
which you won, by the way.
I got third place in the waffle off. Everybody's like, but I thought she quit cooking. I did. Anyway, Justin was DJing, and he managed to mix Seasons of Love from Rent and
with Biggie.
With Biggie. And I think my mind was blown. And what was funny is so was the circuit at that point. Like the circuit break, the circuit gets blown. And what I loved about Justin is he's like, we're starting this over from the beginning.
5 waffle irons and DJ gear apparently do not work well in the same circuit.
Not a great mix. Anyway, Justin, I really appreciate you sharing everything that you have. It's a lot of really good concrete advice. Where can people find you?
It's pretty easy. It's just all DJ Kanoya everywhere. So djkanoya.com, DJ Kanoya on Instagram, and
spell
Twitter.
it on out for them if you K-A-N.
Yes, DJ.
Yeah, we got that part.
So DJKanoya.com.
Excellent. And I'm hoping that we can put a little mix at the end of this.
Yes, might be some Seasons of Love with Wannabe and the laugh.
Sweet. Perfection. Awesome, Justin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Until next time, everyone, happy quitting.
come drink